What do you do when you have one of those weeks that life seems to try and take you out or take everything from you to see just what you are made of? This past week was one of those weeks for me. 7 days ago, my son was running 104 fever. We took him to the emergency room and found out he had strep. Strep is never a good thing, but we were in prep mode to take my second daughter to surgery the following day. So our head was not necessarily focused on how we're going to care for our son. We were primarily focused on getting ready to take our daughter in for surgery. Now, this surgery was a follow-up from something that had happened in February where she had to have double hip surgery because she had double hip dysplasia since she was born, and she's 6 years old. So now my wife and I are having to flow towards my son while also prepare our daughter for what's going to happen the following day. She has plates in her femurs, she's got screws in her femurs, and those are coming out the next day, and she's kind of nervous about it, but she's also excited about it because she's ready to walk and run. She hadn't been able to do that. The following morning, we get my son and other two daughters taken care of as my in-laws are coming over to help out while we take our second to the doctor. While we're at the doctor and he's coming in to explain what's going to happen during the surgery, he lets us know that he's going to get in there and see if she can get full mobility back in one of her legs because it has not been able to fully extend since the surgery, and he's concerned that it might be because the femur is too long. Now, the reason we're even in there and having plates removed from her femurs is because when she had surgery the first time, they had to take out 1 centimeter of each femur in order to get it to fit and the muscles and tendons and everything to work the way they're supposed to. He said that based on what he's seen, he's going to have to take another centimeter out of her right femur and then have to put in another plate and screws and then have another surgery later on down the road. But he's going to get in there and see what happens once he has her under anesthesia and he tries to stretch her out and see how her muscles and tendons are responding. Now, our daughter is a champ. She is an absolute beast when it comes to this recovery mode. She floors me with how strong she is and how strong she's been throughout this whole process. She's just ready to be well and not allowed herself to get too discouraged in the process. My wife and I, on the other hand, we have struggled behind closed doors, not wanting to show a bad face for her at all, but we both are ready to see her walk and run, and it's heart-wrenching to see her still struggle with being able to fully extend that leg. Now, hearing the news that they're going to have to remove potentially another centimeter is not the news that we were looking for. But as they take her back and my wife and I are sitting there discussing, we both are in agreement that ultimately whatever needs to happen to help her walk is why we're here in the first place. We're sitting there discussing, and my wife gets the call, and sure enough, the doc says, yeah, we're going to have to remove some of her femur. We don't know exactly how much it's going to be yet. We'll be able to find out after the surgery is done. My wife immediately starts to tear up and she says, I just can't believe that we're going to have to do this. I'm trying to stay strong in the middle of it because she was the one who was up all night last night with my son who was struggling with strep. And then she's got this emotional turmoil she's having to deal with. So I'm trying to be a strong, good husband and say we're going to be able to get through this and reassure her that it's going to be okay. Like I said, my daughter's a champ. She did phenomenal during surgery, but as we're coming back there and the anesthesia is wearing off, she is not doing well. I don't know if you've ever been around a child as they come out of anesthesia, but they are disoriented and in a lot of pain, and they're very, very freaked out. And as a parent, it's heart-wrenching to watch because you can't do anything. You're just trying to walk them through coming out of that disoriented state and just reassure them that you're there with them, that they are good, that they're okay, it's normal. And then you also try and talk to the doctors to say, can you do anything to help her out, please? I don't want you to knock her out again, but do something to help her out. Because her pain was so bad, they were able to give her some extra pain meds, and thankfully that did calm her down and she took a nap. Now, one funny piece did happen as she was napping. There was another kid who had a unexpectedly positive experience with his anesthesia. We hear him coming out of his delirium and just saying, I feel weird. I feel like I'm dead. The nurse was cracking up with us. The whole hall was cracking up. And we're just listening to this kid who is having the best time experiencing this numbness and euphoria that came for him from a positive experience. The best part was his parents came in, and as he's going on and on about how good he feels, his mom was heard saying, I'm a cop. Like she was trying to reassure everybody there that this kind of stuff doesn't happen at home because I'm a cop. We didn't think that at all, but it was just one of those funny moments where nobody quite knew what to do other than just enjoy this kid who was having a good time. Now, we were thankful for that reprieve because we found out that our daughter didn't just need 1 centimeter removed from her femur, she needed 2. So she'd had a total of 3 centimeters in one and 1 centimeter in the other removed from her since February, and she's already a little girl. After what was supposed to be an hour-and-a-half surgery, 8 hours later, we finally leave the hospital, and my daughter thankfully sleeps on the way home, and my wife and I are debriefing. I reach over and I tell my wife how proud I am of what she did today. She broke down in tears and talked about how she felt like she was inadequate, and I told her how much she gave me strength in the moment. She really does respond so well, and I know that I felt reassured having there, and I know that my daughter felt reassured having her there as well. We both agreed that we hope for the best with her in her recovery. We don't know what's going to happen, if this really is going to be the final time that she has to have any more of her leg removed, but that she is ultimately going to be able to walk and run again, and that we are so thankful that we have each other to walk through this with her, rather than having to face it alone. Well, the next day, my daughter needs help moving around everywhere she goes because they didn't put a brace on her, they didn't put a cast on her, but her leg is broken, so she can't put any pressure on it whatsoever, so she literally has to be lifted and carried everywhere, to the bathroom, can't get in the bathtub. Everywhere she goes, everything she does, she's gonna need help. Well, I started feeling really crappy. I didn't know if it was the same thing that my son had. I don't know if I was just emotionally exhausted, physically exhausted from having to lift her and move her around and try and cope with everything on a little sleep. But I told my wife, I said, I'm not feeling very well. I think I need to go get tested to see if I've got strep too. So I go into our little emergency walk-in clinic and I get tested for strep. But anytime you get tested for strep nowadays, they test for strep, flu, and COVID. And guess what? I come back with COVID number 3. How's that even possible? I have no idea why that happened right now in the midst of everything. My son has strep. My daughter needs help moving all around. And now I'm told to quarantine from the rest of my family and leave my wife to deal with everything on her own. I can thankfully say that the 3rd round has been nothing compared to the 1st and 2nd round. 1st round almost took me out. 2nd round was miserable, but it was not as bad as the 1st. And this one was just like a really bad cold. So I'm trying to do my best to stay away from everybody and make sure that I don't give anybody COVID. But I'm also wanting to try and help out because I know how daunting it is to care for 2 sick children, one of whom can't walk at all, and then also to have another one who's still in diapers. So to make things even more fun, the following morning we wake up and our thermostat downstairs does not work. It's a smart thermostat and it won't even come on at all. I'm like, what in the world is wrong right now? Why are we getting so much crap thrown at us? I wish I could tell you that I knew why. I wish I could tell you that I also had a game plan for how to solve every single problem. But sometimes there are things that come up that you can't do anything other than just stand. Like if there's an onslaught coming against you, sometimes the best thing you can muster is to just stand. And it was in that mindset that I thought of this scripture, and I just want to share it with you. It's in Ephesians 6, verse 10 through 13. It says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." And this is the part that stands out. Pun intended, I couldn't help it. "Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand." Sometimes there are things that come against you that you can't muster up 1 ounce of offense whatsoever, and you don't even feel like you have a defense. But there is still something to be said for standing. When opposition comes up, when the waves come, when the storm blows in, and you are still left standing after the dust settles, that says something about who you are. You may be facing something that's worse than my week, and I applaud you if you are still standing. If you're trying to muster up that strength to keep going, look around, and if you are still on your feet, I applaud you. And you need to take a moment and just recognize the feat that is. As I said on that ride home with my wife, I am thankful that I am with her in the middle of this, and I didn't even know what else was going to be coming this week. But I still hold true to that. And I am so thankful that I know that God is with us in the middle of this. And so while it seems like we can't make any headway whatsoever, sometimes all we're called to do is just stand. So I encourage you, if you're in the middle of it and you are standing, take strength in that and keep standing. I hope you got something out of my story this week. I know it was a lot of crap that I dumped on you. I apologize, but I really do appreciate you joining me. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up, put something down in the comments section, share it on social media, and I will see you next time when we can share a cigar and change the world.